All right, so in your internship, you might enter some unfamiliar territory. So I'm going to provide a series of etiquette tips. Some of these tips are designed for in-person interactions, like going out to lunch with your coworkers. Probably won't come in handy during COVID and working remotely. However, they're very useful tips for you to bring with you along the rest of your professional journey. Bruce Lee wisely said that one of the best lessons you can learn in life is to master how to remain calm. Deep breath in, little exhale. It's a very powerful skill, and especially while working remotely, you'll probably have a lot of asynchronous communication where maybe it's emails or Slack messages and things going back and forth. Every once in a while, you might get a message that upsets you or angers you or disturbs your emotions. That's the case. Take a minute or maybe a couple minutes, take some deep breaths. You can even just practice saying the ABCs once in your head. Get through all 26 letters. You're already a little bit calmer than you initially were. There's also a practice called labeling, which is a negotiation skill that can help to decrease any powerful negative emotions. If you're feeling angry, say, I'm feeling angry. This made me feel angry. And just as you label it, it starts to decrease the cortisol that your brain's releasing, and you'll be a little bit calmer to move forward. So when you meet someone in person and we're allowed to shake hands again, maybe this is next year, maybe this is 2025, you want to avoid the lame fish handshake where you just kind of put it there, but you don't really shake it. You want a firm grasp, not too hard. You're not trying to squeeze their hand. They're like it's your little brother and you're saying peace be with you at church. I don't know if your older brother did that to you, but my brother would always squeeze my hand as hard as he could right after the Our Father. And when somebody asks a question, you want to make eye contact with them. So that's definitely something you can do in the virtual environment. I encourage you to even put a little sticker right there on your computer right next to where the camera is, so it reminds you when you're in meetings to not be looking off to the side or down at your phone, but to make eye contact and be genuinely interested in what people are saying, because it's kind of off-putting when everybody's kind of looking around and nobody seems to be paying attention. So strive to make eye contact both in virtual meetings as well as in-person settings. When you get introduced to someone, there's a pro tip I'm going to share with you from Chick-fil-A. So you may or may not know that every single Chick-fil-A employee is trained to say "my pleasure" to every single customer that they speak to. You want extra barbecue sauce? Oh, here you go, my pleasure. Would you like fries with that? Great, my pleasure. Mike, your order's up. My pleasure, all right? And one of the reasons that they're all trained to do this is because human beings like pleasure. And the simple act of the person you're interacting with saying the word pleasure actually creates a positive association in your brain, and it makes it a more pleasurable experience. So whenever you meet someone new, whether it's in person, over a video call, or even via email, and say, "It's my pleasure to meet you, Mike Malloy," or whatever their name is. Because the other thing that you're doing there is helping you to remember what their name is. And you're also creating a more positive connection because every human being likes hearing their own name. So remember, when you meet somebody new, you can simply say, "It's my pleasure to meet you," insert name. So if you find yourself in the future at a fancy restaurant, a wedding, a meal, I want to just quickly go over what the different silverware items are, glasses, quick stuff, because whether in your internship or later in your career, you may get invited to some fancy partner dinners or opportunities to wine and dine folks. So when you have more than 3 pieces of silverware, pro tip, you start on your outside and you work your way in. You use the outside fork, which is the salad fork, and then you get to your dinner fork. You've got your outside spoon or knife, work your way into the middle. You'll often have different water glasses and wine glasses. The red wine glass is usually the bigger glass, and it's bigger because red wine needs to be aired out or oxidate, and the scent and the taste of the wine improves as it gets a little bit of oxygen in it, whereas the white wine glass is a little bit narrower and doesn't need as much airing out. If you're under 21, don't drink at work, and if you're not drinking for any reason and you have these glasses in front of you, the server will come by, offer you a drink. You can simply offer them the glass. So then when they come around and do laps later, they won't ask you again, "Do you want some wine?" You don't have a glass there, they know that. The other thing you might get is a cup and saucer with, which is designed for coffee or tea. If you don't want coffee or tea, you can simply put the mug upside down on the saucer, and that communicates to the server that you don't want any. They don't have to ask you. Normally it's after dinner when they'll serve these things. So the mug can go upside down. You don't want to put your wine glasses upside down because they're a bit more fragile and they could break. Leave them right side up. You can hand those to the server, but the coffee and tea mug can certainly be placed upside down. Lastly, as you're finishing your meal, when you're done eating, one way to communicate to the server that you're done and they can clear your plate is to put all of the silverware right in the middle, kind of from 6 to 12 if you're thinking about a clock. That says, hey, I'm done, you can clear it. If you have the silverware kind of crossed like an X, it means I'm still eating. Don't take my plate just yet. And one last thing on the napkin as well, as soon as you sit down at any meal, it's appropriate to take the napkin, open it up, put it on your lap. That's just good etiquette. And if you get up to use the restroom at any point, you can either put the napkin on your chair, or if there's room and it's not too messy of a napkin, you can put it on the table as well. So at some point in your career, your boss or your boss's boss is going to take you out to eat. My number one piece of advice when you're eating with coworkers is to let the higher ranking colleague order first. And there's a few reasons to do this. And the first reason is that you don't want to order alcohol if they're not drinking, and you're assuming you're 21. You also don't want to order the New York strip steak if they're getting a salad or a chicken Caesar wrap. So one way you can get away with this is when they come around for drinks, if they ask you first, just say, oh, I'll just get started with a water. I'm still looking at the menu. And that gives time for it to lap around the table, let everybody else order. And you can see, are folks just doing water and iced tea? Did anybody get some beers? Are people getting a bottle of wine or some liquor drinks? You can never go wrong with getting water. And the waiter is going to come back. You can always order a drink on the second or third lap if you think it's appropriate and you are of legal age to be drinking. On the food side of the house, I would also recommend trying to get other people to order first. You can ask, the manager, the supervisor, what looks good on the menu? What do you think you're getting? And they might throw out a couple options so you can at least gauge the price. If they're getting things in the 10 to 15 range, definitely stay under 20 bucks. If they're getting the $50 entree and say, hey, we're gonna get a bunch of appetizers to share, maybe go a little bit more on the luxurious side and treat yourself, as long as that's what the mood of the entire group is.